magic number. Yes, it is. It's the magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. Some more meaty topics this week, including what makes a great commentator, and we'll be doing some commentating of our own, and stepping outside the comfort zone. Remember, use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch for future topics in later weeks. But before we get going, we've had a pretty good week.
Some better than others.
Three Radio Academy nominations. Best New Podcast, Best New Show, I think, was one of them. And the other one is Best New Presenter.
Is that you?
No, it's you, Fred.
What?
Me and Sav got completely ignored. Co-presenters on this show. You took all the glory.
I'm not sure what you want me to say. This is a very high esteem awards. It can't be wrong.
It's the radio account. Obviously, I've won best new presenter 7 years ago.
But you're not new, that's why.
No, I'm not new, but Matthew is.
Yeah, I am.
I thought he presented this show.
Yeah, he
cheers,
wants a
mate.
touch of the green-eyed monster here, Matthew. I've never seen this before. What's wrong? If it was you, I'd be happy.
It did hurt a little bit. No, it
Oh,
didn't,
my
it didn't.
word. I'll be honest with you, I don't do these things for awards. I just give a little bit back.
Should we go on to the first topic? Fred, I've been absolutely blown away about how well I'm trying to get popular with you again after slagging you off.
Matthew.
But you've reinvented yourself in so many different ways. The peg for this, of course, is Rio Ferdinand moving on to boxing. But you've done boxing, you've done entertainment, you've done cannonball, you've done so many, and you're doing musicals. Talk us through the psychology of reinvention. Why don't you get nervous? Why don't you freeze? What gives you the courage to do these new things?
Do you know what? You look, from when I finished playing cricket, I didn't want to take the obvious route, which could have been coaching or it could have been going into the commentary box. I thought, you know what, I'll see what else is out there. Mm-hmm. And I found myself in positions which have been bizarre. And this latest one, where I'm doing musical theatre in November, Fat Friends in Leeds.
Wow.
I don't know, because I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm hoping it's going to go well. But I feel that I need these challenges. Once I've done something, it's a case of what's the next thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel the best comes out of me when I'm outside my comfort zone. I find that the most challenging. And I think when I play cricket, every day you're outside your comfort zone. You're going into something which you didn't know you was going to do. Mm-hmm. But on the other side of that is, cricket was all I wanted to do. That was my dream job. Every day of my life. And I've had that. And nothing's going to recreate it. Yep. Nothing's going to come close to that. But I constantly need a challenge, I suppose. And I like being in that position where I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it.
But a lot of people, particularly 30, 40, 50 years ago, would go through their entire life from 16 to retirement doing the same job in the same way every day. I think in the new world, a lot of young people are moving from job to job. They do travelling and things of that kind. But what's amazed me is how seamlessly you've moved from these one thing to another. And it's almost as if you were born to do a lot of them.
I don't know about that.
Presenter award to start with. You don't put that much. I mean, Rob and I, we put hours of preparation, and you turn up 2 or 3 notes, and you wing it brilliantly.
Wing it.
It does, doesn't it, Rob?
I tell you what, you're having a do at my professionalism there, Matthew Syed.
I've seen him on trains. We've come in this morning early, and he's got script after script. He's going on the train, he'll be learning. He doesn't wing it. I'm going to stick up for him here.
I do.
Okay.
No, I've got scripts in my bag. I've got to learn my musical one. Yeah, I should have learnt that by now. I don't know about seamlessly. I've been lucky in the fact that I've not done a job that I didn't want to do. So I've not taken a job solely for the money.
Have you ever been scared?
Maybe the jungle.
Have you ever been scared? You've moved into a new environment. You don't know what to expect, and you've got that feeling in the pit of your stomach.
I get that a lot, to be honest, but I know how to control that. I like that feeling. I like that feeling of nerves. I don't get it to...
You like that feeling?
Yeah, I don't get it as often now as I used to, because this is going to sound awful, and anybody who employs me, I apologise. But when I played cricket, before every game, I was nervous. Mm-hmm. Every time. Before I came onto ball, especially before I went into bat. Nobody would know, but I was nervous. But I dealt with it in a different way. It was, why is this a bad feeling? Why is it a bad feeling? Mm-hmm. Only because someone's told you that it's a bad feeling. And someone said, these are nerves, these are horrible, this is... And I thought, well, I disagree. I actually really like this feeling. I like this feeling of not knowing what's going to happen. Yep. I felt that I move faster. Yep. I've got this energy inside of me. And when I retired from playing cricket, I missed that.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I'm doing a show for ITV. It's called All Star Musicals. And it's 7 people who've always wanted to do musical theatre having the chance to perform at the London Palladium. I'm hosting it, but I'm opening up with a number. And I'm doing it with Michael Crawford, who's an absolute legend of a man. He's like the judge and the mentor. And I'm performing these rehearsals in front of Michael Crawford. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a fish out of water. But I love that feeling. I love the thought of going onto the Palladium stage in front of 2,000 people. And I'll be honest with you, that there is a script, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to fluff my auto-cue. I don't know if I'm going to fluff my lines, if I'm going to sing out of tune, if I get the dance step wrong. But ultimately,
That doesn't worry you.
I'm not bothered. What's going to happen? What's the worst thing? I'm going to sing out of tune, and then after I've finished, I'm going to get in a car and I'm going to go home.
You know, you mentioned
Who
last
cares?
week.
Who cares? I'm not solving world's problems.
You
I'm
said last
singing.
week it's almost worse that you got Crawford than the whole of the public because he's like this legend of musical theatre.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the
But
one
I'd sooner do it in front of 1 million people than 3.
because it's more intimate with 3, isn't it? You can see the whites
get
and the
them
right.
all there. All turn up.
But
Come and have a look.
before this show, I watched on YouTube one of the things you did that genuinely astonished me that you'd have wanted to do it, boxing. And I hadn't seen it before, but I watched it in the ring. I'll tell you what I felt to start with is, oh my goodness, he could get hurt here. And I looked at your face, you were being talked to by your corner man. Barry McGuigan was flashed. And I thought, you know, you're up against a professional boxer in a ring, could have got punched around the face. What motivated you to do that? What were your experiences? You must have been scared witless when you went onto that stool.
Well, I stumbled into the boxing. I stumbled into it. I wanted to do a TV programme for Sky. And I needed to do a show. I needed to come up with an idea. And my original one was wrestling. I wanted to wrestle The Undertaker at the Manchester Arena. So it went through...
As you do.
The Undertaker?
You know that WWE wrestler? He's been around for years.
Oh, I see.
But then I went through the process. I went to wrestling school in Miami. I went to the wrestling academy, broke 2 ribs, came back, and they asked me to join the WWE as opposed to do a documentary on it. And I said no, but money was off the scale. And then it changed to boxing, and it was a chance meeting. Me and Barry, for a while, had the same agent. He was in the office, and he was having a meeting, and I just put my head round the door and jokingly said, "Oh, is this about my fight?" And he came out and said, "You want to have a fight?" And then my cogs started going in my head, thinking, that process from the wrestling, I can apply that to the boxing. It's the same thing. So before I knew it, I was in a ring in Essex in Loughton for 5 rounds with a fella called Biggie, who was a 21-stone Nigerian who just beat me up for 5 rounds. And I came out all bloody and my face was a mess, but I could take a punch, and Barry said, "We can do this." So it escalated.
So they're trying to find out if you had the resilience to take shots.
I couldn't box. Well, some say I still can't, but and then I went through the process, and it was the biggest test in a lot of ways because it was very much against type. Where I'm not aggressive, I'm not a fighter, I'm stubborn, and I'm single-minded. But I love the training and getting fit. But every day sparring, you talk about being outside your comfort zone, walking into gyms in the East End of London, going to the Aldershot Army barracks and just saying, "I'll fight anyone fancy it." And I had some sparring partners who were small. One of them was 6'10". One fella I got found out one day who just beat me up like you've never seen.
What was it like to get clocked around the face?
Do you know the worst thing about it? And I'm sure from a psychology point of view or anyone will probably evaluate this and say I'm a bit of a wrong-un. But towards the end of my cricket career, I got injured so many times. And I was in pain playing all the time. And it wasn't about the opposition. It wasn't about who I was playing against. Every day I was playing against myself. And it was about how much pain can I take? How far can I push my knee to I got the point of stopping? So I'd have the injections, I'd have all the anti-inflammatories. Yep. And it was almost the main game was that, not the cricket. Yeah. So I got used to playing with pain. And then with the boxing, it's like quite a psychotic thing. It was, how much can I take? I actually enjoyed being punched more than punching people. It was like, I'd take a punch in the face or in the head. I think, yeah, go on then, let's have another one of them. And it was really weird.
Do you know, I once sparred, I think I may have mentioned it to you guys before. The pain was so much. The very first time I got hit, I walked out the ring. I'm amazed. Two things. One, that you almost found some masochistic satisfaction in the pain, but also that the pain in cricket was comparable. You were playing with that amount of agony.
I never experienced pain in boxing as bad as I experienced in cricket.
That's unbelievable.
Nowhere near.
I don't think anyone would imagine that it was that tough when you're playing through injury in cricket.
Well, I remember because I used to get hit in the body, and Rob's seen it. I've not got a good rack, a good rig.
You have.
But underneath, I'm strong. I never felt a body punch. Never felt one. But I've been hitting the ribs with a cricket ball, and I felt that.
Wow.
I've been hitting the face batting and did my nose and cheek, which is not comparable to getting a 20-stone man punch you in the face.
Well, it's worse.
No, you feel the jolt and you black out a little bit, and then you come back in. But it's not pain; it's shock of being hit.
Who was that fight? The guy you fought in the press conference. What was the?
Well, we went in the press conference, and I didn't want to know who I was fighting. I didn't want to know anything about him because it might put me off. And we got to the press conference, and we sat at the Hilton Hotel, and we got the press conference. We'd done the weigh-in, we'd done the stare down. And it's the weirdest thing ever that, Barry said to me, he says, it's about point scoring. He said, when you stare at him, the press will ask for a photograph, but make him look away first. Don't you look away first? So I'm staring at a man. And I'm looking at him, eyeballing him. I'm a bit taller on him, and I'm trying to look as hard as I possibly can. And all that's going through my head is like thinking, please look away. Please look away. And he looked away first, and I thought, right, that's 1 point. And then you weigh in. I'm not that happy about my body. I'm stood in a pair of Union Jack underpants on a set of scales in front of a room of men cheering. This is weird. And then we sit there at the press conference, and this English journalist says to my opponent, who's called Big Bad Richard Dawson,
Big Bad Richard Dawson.
He's about 3 stone heavier than me. He looks a hell of a lot rougher. And he said, tell us a bit about yourself, Richard. And he says, well, I've been shot 4 times. That's a bit Forrest. No, he didn't fight Forrest Gump. He might have been better, though. I'm going to do an English accent. So I'm thinking, oh, my word. And then he said, I've been a debt collector. I think, oh, God. And he said, I've been inside for GBH. And I'm sat there thinking, oh, cheers for this, Barry. I thought boxing was all about matching people. And then this American journalist says to me, he says, tell us a bit about yourself. And well,
Grew up in Lancashire.
I used to play a little bit of cricket. We dress in whites and we stop every 2 hours for sandwiches. But you know what? The worst thing was I had a fight in Ireland about 2 weeks before the big fight, and I fought a Marine in a place called Monkstown. So it's to get used to the rigmarole of the ring walk. Mm-hmm. And it was in this gym where I'd trained. There's 200 people from the estate, and this lad was like the local hero. And I've come into the ring and I've walked through and got quite an hostile reception, got in the ring, this Marine lad's come in, and I stopped him in the second round. Mm-hmm. I hammered his body, and stopped him. And I was really proud of the way I fought. Yeah. And then I got to the MEN Arena in front of 10,000 people, and then the atmosphere, it got to me. I walked out, the Oasis song was on, the crowd's going off left, right and centre, get in the ring. And I started off hiding behind my jab, and I started off all right, but then I thought, you know what, my mates are here, I'm just going to knock this fella out. I'm going to knock him out. And I should have done, but I just forgot how to box. I was windmilling, I got knocked over. I didn't feel a punch, a single punch.
Wow.
During that fight. I got knocked down in the second round, and I looked round thinking, why am I on the floor here? Have I slipped? And I couldn't feel it. I didn't feel a punch.
And this is the adrenaline.
Yeah, and I had like a semi-black eye after the fight. Mm-hmm. I don't know how, so I didn't feel a punch. The only thing I did feel was, about 4 weeks out from fighting, I started to feel my shoulder. And I'd never had any shoulder problems through playing cricket. And then end of the first round, I could barely pick my right arm up because I'd detached my shoulder. So I'd ripped, my shoulder, I couldn't really throw a punch properly. Yeah. And then after the fight, when the adrenaline had gone, my hand was in my pocket. I could not physically take my hand out of my pocket. I had my hand in my pocket all night. And then the next day, I went in for surgery, had my shoulder stitched back, and I had it fractured to regenerate it. But all through the fight, I barely felt it. I just couldn't use it. But you talk about pain, it was all right.
You know, almost everything you've gone and done, there's been a risk but it's been a risk to your ego, to your reputation. Am I going to fall flat on my face? That was a risk to your health, to your well-being. You could have taken a punch and you could have got brain damage. That's what worries me when people transition into boxing. What did your family say about that decision?
I remember my mum said to me, I was living down south, and my mum would come for the weekend of the week, and we sat in the house and I was watching boxing on the TV, one of these fights on a Saturday night. And she turned around to me and said, "Oh, Andrew, I'm so pleased you didn't do that." And it has all been arranged. I said, "Oh, Mum, I've got something to tell you." And she was gutted. And she came to the fight, but she was crying. She didn't like it. Oh. And the missus, she was shouting and screaming on the sidelines. I don't know what possessed her.
Really?
But I look back at it, and the fight was fine, but every day getting up and going to... Do you know the worst thing was? Going to a gym every day, knowing that you're going to spar someone better than you.
Yeah. And
you're going to get hit every day was the hardest thing. But I'm more nervous about doing musical theatre than boxing.
I can't believe you're doing it, man.
Why?
How nerve-wracking it's going to be.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure that Kay Mellor, who's written it, and Nick Lloyd-Webber, who are doing the music, don't want to hear this. But what is the worst thing that can happen? Yeah. I'm not going to hurt myself.
You can forget your words. You can stop
just
the show.
Line.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But Robert, isn't that a brilliant addition? I mean, there's two
I wish
things
I was like that.
You know, just the boxing was fascinating, but you talked a bit earlier about the feeling you get in the pit of the stomach and the nerves, and saying, well, who cares? There's a line from Robbie Williams, who goes and plays to huge arenas, and he said, pressure isn't a problem, it's a privilege. It means you care. Embrace that feeling of nerves. I think that's incredibly powerful. Robbie, with your life, you're a footballer. You grew up in Wales. You had relatively narrow horizons in your footballing career. You're in a dressing room. You're on football pitches. But then you've transitioned. You're now a broadcaster. You won Best New Presenter 7 years ago at the Radio Academy Awards. You went on to Strictly Come Dancing. Tell us about what it's been like for you to reinvent yourself. What's the toughest thing you ever did?
Strictly, there's no question, and I think it's a good talking point now in terms of it's just come back on the TV. So I retired at 36, made the decision, and I thought, right, Strictly come calling. I thought, I can't dance, never danced. Honestly, never danced.
You're a bit of a mover, aren't you?
Not really.
You play football.
Yeah, but...
No, but you run around.
Well, I don't dance.
You've got coordination.
Yeah, coordination. But for me, because I never danced, the odd occasion I danced, I would feel that when a song come on, I would be all right. I could dance a little bit, I could move a little bit, but in front of people... And
what about your wedding? What about your first dance at your wedding? What was that?
Come back to me on that one. I think it was She's the One, Robbie Williams. She's the one. But then, that's fine, because I'd have a few beers or a few glasses of wine, so I didn't drink beer. And
before
then,
Strictly?
No, when I was dancing.
I used to do that before cricket.
And I would get a bit of confidence. But the thought of me dancing in front of a crowd, even in training, was the worst thing I could do. But to be fair, the best thing's ever done.
But for you... I think it's amazing because one, Strictly Come Dancing, is that what it's called? Just Strictly these days, gets 9 million viewers.
Yeah.
But also as well, as a risk for Robbie Savage to do, is massive because of the perception that people thought of you. To put yourself out there, I feel probably with my reputation, I can get away with things a little bit more than you. But you was putting everything on the line.
I put everything on the line. I thought, right, how am I going to approach this? Right, so... I thought there's one or two ways. Do I go as the Robbie, I'm not talking myself in third person, as the Robbie who was rash, who was brash, who was big-mouthed, who was having a massive opinion? Do I portray myself as the footballer on Strictly, or do I portray myself as me?
Yep.
Because and I thought, right, what have I got to lose? I'm going to portray myself as me, the quiet, insecure, nervous guy who would like to sit in the corner rather than be centre stage. Yeah. And that's the way I went about it. And it worked really well for me. And that's not because I put it on, because that's who I am. And training would be every day for 8 hours a day. You would learn your routine. You'd go down to London on a Thursday. You would go in the studio. You'd rehearse. Even the rehearsal, I was a bag of nerves on every occasion. And then the first episode of Strictly, the nerves are just
Off the
incredible.
scale.
Was it worse than having a cup final at Wembley?
Incredible. The worst bit for me, never mind the 9 million people watching at home, was your partner, Ollie, was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But the crowd in that Strictly studio, it was so condensed and
Quite
so
small.
tight,
I watched Goffey. It's small, isn't it?
So you imagine this, right? So I'm this guy, everybody disliked, or a lot of people disliked. You know, they had an opinion of me. I'm on Strictly. I'm in all sparkles, false tan, and my hair was glowing, which was I loved.
We're doing that now. Where's this going, Rob?
I was very insecure. Matthew, about my body. You know,
You looked
Really?
good on that, didn't you?
What do you
very
mean? What-
insecure
Why
about
did you
my
do
body.
that photograph with just your hands on your nuts on a chair?
But that was after Strictly. That was for,
great.
to launch a campaign for testicular cancer. You know, but even before I knew I was doing Strictly, I had to go and hit the gym, hammer the gym, which was never me because I couldn't put weight on. And I was thinking, oh, I've got to go on the TV, wear tight stuff, you know, and my body's not good. So all these things go in your head before you do Strictly because you see them now, they're all ripped, they're athletes.
But it was brilliant, though, because I remember watching it, and
Did you know each other at the time?
Not really, no.
I think we've met once or twice, and then you have an opinion on people. And then there was a moment, actually, where I thought, no, he's a good lad, this lad.
Thanks.
No, because, do you know when you was getting voted off? I remember watching it, or you was in the dance-off.
Yeah.
And then they were talking about the two dances, and you just said, hang on, he's better.
Yeah, he was better.
He's so much better. Where a lot of these people are like building it up, trying to beg for votes and doing this, like this signal, and where you was just honest.
He was,
And I think
better.
everyone appreciated that.
You got to understand that I wasn't good at dancing at all, and for me to do
alright.
that,
Did you enjoy the technical side of it?
He's better than Michael Vaughan. He was like an ironing board.
I got to week 10, he got to week 9. So, but Matthew, you talk about comfort zone. So the music would start. You'd walk up the stairs backstage, then you'd get introduced. But I thought,
And presumably backstage you got the sound man, the floor
Already.
manager. You're surrounded by people.
yeah. But then my thought process, being me, is that when you go up the stairs backstage and you get introduced, and now coming on to Robbie and Ola, my thought process, nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows
Really?
who I am.
Insecurity.
Yeah, nobody knows who I am. Will people know me?
Do you feed off the crowd?
I feed off the crowd, yeah, but not in football, but not in Strictly. Afterwards, when I had a standing ovation a couple of times in my early dances, yeah, it was amazing because I achieved it. I've done it. I got rid of my insecurities. But, you know, I didn't think people knew who I was. When I was announced on Strictly, even when you do the launch show, you know, you got all these people outside the BBC, and I'm walking there thinking, you know, will people know who I am? And even when you meet the other contestants, I was on with Russell Grant, Harry Judd, Holly Valance, Chelsea Healy, Jason Donovan. I was Nancy.
Joseph?
Yeah, Nancy Delolio.
Scott of Neighbours?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jason
my
Donovan.
word.
Love it.
Fantastic people who are big names, and I'm there.
Wasn't Dan
thinking-
Lobb in
Dan
your
Lobb,
set?
Dan Lobb, yeah.
Big name.
Lovely
You just
fella.
said Nancy Delaglio.
Delolio. Brilliant. What a lovely lady.
I've met her a couple of times.
Lovely lady.
She's nice, isn't she?
My thing was, when you meet these people in the first time, I'm thinking, they won't know who I am. So that was in my head from the first and foremost. And then when you're actually dancing, you learn your routine. You'll be watching the other contestants dance, and you're standing there thinking, right, it's me soon, it's me. Have I forgot my moves? You know, I've done it enough, but I've got to be confident myself because you do the routine that much, it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
So when there was 2 occasions when I forgot what I was walking down the stairs, Lola, and I said to her, I forgot. My mind's gone. I forgot.
Wow.
And I forgot. It's gone. I didn't have a clue. and she said, don't worry. And it was great advice. As soon as the music starts, you'll get it. And I was standing there, and literally there was one song, I can't remember which one it was. I'm standing there and dancing the cha-cha-cha. It's Robbie Savage and Ola Jordan. And the music would start, and because I don't know music, you're supposed to count 1, 2, 3 to 8. I couldn't count. I don't know music. I'm standing there, and literally 2 seconds before, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. The music kicked in, and all of a sudden, my legs started moving, and I'd done it. And I'd done it like that because it was muscle memory. But I was...
Did Ola coach? Was she the
Brilliant.
one who coached you the routines? Or
Yeah, Ola done it. She was brilliant. Honestly, such a good partner. She helped me. But to do that and to the nerves and to
amazing.
get through that and to get to week 10, listen, Strictly's a huge bubble. And when I look back, I'm disappointed in myself, really, because
Why?
I am, because the way I was as a person. I was, as I said, on the show, I was insecure, I was nervous, I was this guy. But there was a part of me who got involved in the bubble. You know, you are, for that period of 10 weeks in Britain, you are one of the most famous men or women. You're like a rock star. Because wherever you go, everybody from kids, middle-aged, grandmas, everybody knows who you are. You're getting followed by the press. In every newspaper, everybody wants a piece of you. And I started to believe I was one of the most famous people in Britain.
It affected you?
Affected me. I got a bit cocky with myself. I got a bit... Yeah, I did. I did, Fred. When I look back, and I didn't take my wife's
Think
opinions...
it'll last much longer?
What?
I'm joking.
I'm going all deep. Fred. It's like the most... He's horrible, isn't he? He's horrible to me. I don't know why I was a friend. Anyway, but then, you know, people talk... I didn't take my wife's thoughts into the process, and I now look back and thinking, right, if my wife was dancing with a partner, and they were together all the time, and it was in close proximity to dancing, you have a bond with your partner. I just thought, yeah, it's fine, she'll get on with it. I didn't take her feelings into consideration, and I'm disappointed with myself for that. And I feel that at that time of Strictly, although, you know, I was nervous, I was insecure, I was a person I didn't like. I didn't like myself.
Can I just bring Fred in? That's really interesting.
I didn't like myself. And I didn't. My family. And for the first time in my life, you're thinking my family were an afterthought. I was just, when can I have the next spray tan? How good can I look? What mark am I going to get? Which is the next interview I can do? Yeah, it was all about me, and I hate myself for it.
Is that the sportsman coming out in you? Didn't you find that when you played sport? Because I did. I've said on a previous podcast, I didn't think I was a selfish player. But I was selfish about what I was doing, where everything was about the cricket. And then, you know, the family get you worse. They get you when you lose. They don't get you when you win. You're out with lads, and everything's around the team and the bubble, and that's all that counts. And I think that might be the sportsman coming out in you rather than having a crack at yourself and being hard on yourself. I think that's one of the things as a sportsman you need to be, especially when you put... in a competitive environment.
Don't you think there is something else where you can get carried away with attention and media?
I was carried away. I got carried away. You know, when my wife would say to me, I just used to be snappy and think, what do you know? Do you mean? I was wrong. And to the point where the first week, and I think Craig Revel-Hall was speaking about, or somebody spoke about it, so you think that I'm not a liked person, and the pantomime villain in me, whichever he thought I was when I played football, I thought it would be different when I do Strictly. I thought, you know, when I do my first dance, if it's good, it'll be voted good, and if it's bad, it'll be horrendous. And I remember, I thought the dance went pretty well, and I watched it back, and I was standing there in front of Craig Revel-Hall, who was a pantomime villain in his own right, and he'd given me a 2. And I just thought, wow, a 2, after all the hard work, all the effort, after all getting myself to do it. Because stereotypically, Robbie Savage, a pantomime villain, if Craig Revel-Hall has a go at Robbie, it's great TV.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to Moira, who's a fantastic producer. She produced Strictly. I went into her office afterwards, and I was crying my eyes out.
Really?
I was crying my eyes out because the emotion got inside me, and I thought, right, I'm not going to get embarrassed every week. I don't want to have a spat with Craig because that's not me. On a football pitch, I'd have gone toe to toe with him. But now I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm in a different environment. I'm Robbie the person, not Robbie the footballer. Yeah, I'm not going to go back at him. So I took it on the chin, and it hurt me, massively hurt me, and all the nasty things being said. And then it was in the paper, I'm rubbish. And I thought, here we go again. And I cried my eyes out, and I said, listen, I want to leave. For week 1, I said, I want to leave. I don't want to do it. And she convinced me to stay. And, you know, it was the best thing I'd done staying, but it was the pantomime villain Craig against the pantomime villain Robbie, and I did. And off the pitch, I'm not like that.
You stuck at it. You stayed on for what, 9 or 10 weeks?
10
you
weeks,
said.
Yeah.
Did you get into punditry, commentary, and those things post Strictly, or were you already doing that before you went on Strictly?
Doing it before, yeah. 606 before my Daily Mirror column, you know, other things. Yeah, before.
Okay, but you're probably bigger now in terms of the popular culture than you were at the time you did Strictly. So you're famous. I've left the studios
not
here.
Famous.
Well, you're pretty famous.
You're not famous.
People
not
ask
famous.
for selfies when I've been with you. I saw a paparazzi outside here one time.
Famous.
Of course you are.
You're famous.
Actually, I want to ask. Hey, Freddie,
Trust me, Robbie, you are.
Yeah, Freddie, you're probably more famous. I want to know how do you mitigate How do you admit, now you said that you got carried away with it and you became narcissistic and it was all about you. How do each of you make sure that you remain who you really are, your integrity as human beings, when you are getting people asking for your autographs all the time?
I think I got caught up in it a little bit younger. After 2005, around that time, I think I got caught up in it. Mm-hmm. And now, I think, do you know what? The people you surround yourself with, where we live, because I live somewhere, everyone knows us.
Yeah.
And then you go to new places, and I'm always a little bit, on guard. And then I go down to London on the train, I come home. I know when I go down to London, it's going to be mental, it's going to be crazy, it's going to be whatever it is. But as soon as I get home, it's back to normal. But it's interesting listening to Rob about being outside your comfort zone. And, I've been doing rehearsals for this show I'm doing the number, and I'm surrounded by all these musical theatre folk, and I've got the choreographer, and I've got Michael Crawford, and I've got all these, and I'm feeling a little bit insecure about it because there's people better than me at this, and I'm questioning myself. I'm not bothered about that, because as long as the answer I give myself is fine, I get on with it. But then I think, you know what? They booked me because they want me.
Yep.
And I watched a couple of other people doing the rehearsals in the performance, and they're far better. And they're giving it all this master of the house and all that, and going all through the actions. I think, that's really good.
See,
but the one thing you aren't, you're not me.
Yeah.
But I can only give what I can do.
Yeah.
An honest opinion.
This is great because I think they booked me because somebody else couldn't do it. That's how I think.
You're a substituted.
That's what I think.
You're a massive booking.
Yeah, but no. See, this is where. I wish I was like him. Because I was an average Premier League. I wasn't even a top footballer. So why are people booking me? I feel that a better player, a better person has pulled out. Therefore, I've got the gig.
Well,
I've got a couple of mottos.
Yeah. Go on.
If you're going to be bad, be confident.
Yeah.
And I'll be always sure I'll be confident. And if it's rubbish, be funny.
Yeah.
Mine are, my mum, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that.
You should start using that. I'm joking. I really am.
Horrible.
Stop it. Matthew, when have you been outside your comfort zone?
So, just listening to Robbie, you think to yourself, I wasn't the top footballer in the country. Why are they inviting me to go on Strictly? Think about what it's like for a ping pong player. Getting to the end of my career, late 20s, beginning to go downhill, realising I can't cut it at an international level. I get a column at the Times, but I'm only writing once a month. I'm a freelancer, getting 200 quid a column, and I'm lucky if I get in the paper. So 12 articles a year. I'm not a journalist. I'm no longer a table tennis player. What am I going to do with my life?
But you've got an education, aren't you?
So that's a big advantage for sure, having been to Oxford. But then every now and again I write a column, and I've never said this before, I don't think, to anybody. Possibly my wife. I'd get invited onto the Today programme. Or I'd get invited onto Sports Week, which is a 5 Live show at the weekend, quite a sort of high-profile show. I'm thinking, why am I on this? I'm not a journalist. I'm an ex-ping pong player. And I was very, very nervous, frighteningly nervous. I'd get to the studio and I really struggled to deliver the lines. Your voice becomes a bit quavery, you dry up. So the second time I went on, I took a can of beer in with me in like a laptop case. This is absolute truth. And I went to the bath. This is at Television Centre. Went into one of the bathrooms, had a beer, sort of calmed my nerves, went on to the Today programme, delivered the interview, did it again for Sports Week. And I thought to myself, actually, the alcohol's making me feel a bit more relaxed. It's enabling me to be myself. But I started relying on it. If I was having interviews.
Both, Matthew.
So you know what I'm talking about, Fred, right?
I do, yes.
But I realised this couldn't carry on, that this was a terrible way to be living and that I needed to overcome my nerves if I was going to be able to transition properly into the media. So one day I thought, how am I going to get used to being in front of a group of people? It could be in a studio. Every now and again I was being asked to give speeches to sports clubs, very low profile at that point. So I joined a club in Richmond called Riverside Communicators. It was me, a couple of middle-aged women, a couple of middle managers from a retail bank, and we'd go into this room and we'd deliver speeches to each other. and we'd have to do table topics where you'd be given a topic. You wouldn't know what it was before you got up there, and you had to improvise. And I went every fortnight for years, developing the ability, overcoming my nerves, being able to speak in a way that I wanted to. And that is probably the most important thing I've done in terms of transitioning and becoming comfortable outside my comfort zone. I've got to tell you, it took forever. And I've talked to a lot of high-profile politicians and other people of that kind. Everyone experiences nerves. And I think the key thing, Freddie put it brilliantly, you've got to have that feeling. I'm nervous when I start this podcast. I do lots of speeches now, 3 or 4 times a week, and I feel that sense of nerves before I get up. But you've got to embrace it.
Well, I can relate to that, because I remember when we started League of Their Own, and you're on this show, and it's a big one for Sky. I used to drink so much before we went on to overcome nerves. Yeah. And then that became the norm in most of the things you do. You'd have a glass of wine, and it'd be a bottle of wine, and it'd be a bit more. Yeah. I got the dosage wrong a couple of times on League of Their Own. Not quite sure what the last round was. But now, obviously, a non-drinker. And that's been a massive step in the fact that you just do things. Just get on with it. Who cares? You know, ultimately, let's be honest. We do a podcast here. You look at what I'm doing on TV, you look at what Rob's done Strictly, and it doesn't matter. Does it really matter? No. And then this is where I'd hate to get to. I would hate to get to. I'd be so disappointed in myself, because I've worked with people and they talk about TV and they talk about theatre or they talk about radio, like they're solving the world's problems. We're just here to try and entertain someone, really. And that is all we're doing. We're all we're doing.
Well, that I think, psychologically, when you're about to do something under pressure, you inevitably think of what could go wrong. And you start to think of the worst-case scenario. You know, if I lose in the Olympics or whatever, I could lose my lottery funding and I'll have to move out of my flat, or I'm on Strictly, I fall flat on my face, I'm a laughing stock, I can never work again. And in your mind, your emotions are going haywire. I think it's such a useful thing to say, what is the worst that could actually happen? My mum and dad will still love me, still be married. The people who I care about won't hold it against me. And that actually gives you a bit of reassurance to go and deliver.
Having said that, though, Rob Key, you know Keezy, he said to me, because I keep saying what I'm doing. I love.
Do you play cricket for Ken?
Yeah,
Ken people probably won't know who he is.
And we did a bit of commentary this year, and he said to me the other day, he said, I can't wait. He said, when you fall flat on your face, I want to be there. But in the nicest possible
But you actually did fall over doing that Elvis impersonation, but who cares?
Do you know what? I know for a fact that I'm living on a crest at the minute, and I've done all these things, and I've got away with them. There'll be something where I'm going to get found out, and it'll happen, and I'll laugh.